Audience.
Hi.
We're live.
And 3.
No, we're already live. Hello.
Oh, my laptop's falling. Okay. As you're driving down the road you've driven down hundreds of times before, you hear the familiar ringtone of your cell phone. You're confident in your multitasking skills and proceed to read and send messages back and forth from your cell phone. Suddenly, everything rushes past you and the world blacks out as you hit another car in a head-on collision. Many of us would never believe this could happen to us. One of those is 18-year-old Minnesota resident Kayla Carey. Kayla was sentenced to 10 years in prison after having a 15 text message conversation that took the life of 77-year-old Lucille Bach. She is one of only a few stories that are included in the chapter Texting While Driving Can Lead to Prison. As part of the FCCLA group at my school, I was challenged to learn about the consequences and hazards of texting while driving and to take the pledge against it. I hope to encourage you to take the pledge and educate you about the dangers and how to avoid distracted driving while on the road. Let us begin by discussing what distracted driving is. According to the book Distracted Driving, the Department of Transportation defines distracted driving as any non-driving activity a person engages in that has the potential to distract him or her from the primary task of driving and increase the risk of crashing. Distracted driving can appear in many forms when you're in a vehicle. You may be eating, drinking, having another conversation with another passenger, daydreaming, having a drink, as in intoxicated driving, but most commonly among teenagers and young adults is actually texting. StopTheText.org listed several facts about the dangers of texting while driving. 80% of teens and young adults indicated concerns about the issue of texting while driving. 78% of teens and young adults admit to having read a text message while driving, and 71% of those teens and young adults admit to composing or sending a text message while driving. Teens and young adults may be concerned about the issue, but they are not taking any proactive action against it. You may have heard these statistics before, but let's put it into perspective as to what happens in reality when an individual chooses to text and drive. A person choosing to text and drive often feels confident in their multitasking skills, but in reality, they are still choosing to take their eyes off the road even for a small amount of time. According to DoSomething.org, 5 seconds is the minimal amount of time your attention is taken away from the road when you're texting and driving. If you are traveling at 55 miles per hour, this equals driving the length of a football field without looking at the road. Now, imagine closing your eyes for 5 seconds while driving. You may be familiar with the roads you're traveling, but there is still the possibility of a child or a pet suddenly coming across the street or you swerving into the other lane and coming into a collision with another car. The other car may have a family in it. The length of traveling a football field in a car may seem like a small distance, but it's not an excuse to read and respond to a text message when the person on the other side of the lane would rather have you arrive safely and wait for a response from your other person. Lastly, let us discuss the ways in which you can take action against texting while driving. As we have discussed the dangers of texting while driving, I hope it has encouraged you to advocate against it. You can take an action by joining me in pledging against texting while driving at the campaign booth during the lunchtime and following these steps from Stop the Text, Stop the Wreck. Out of sight, out of mind. You can put your phone in a place where you can't easily get to it while driving, a place where you won't be tempted to look at it. Now, turn off your notifications. The less you hear your phone, the less tempted you will be to respond to a text while driving. You can also have a designated texter in the car that will answer any text messages you can receive while driving. Today, we have discussed the statistics and facts of dangers of driving while texting and how to avoid it. In summary, texting while driving is clearly not worth risking your life or endangering the lives of others. Reading a text may only take 5 seconds, but the 5 seconds could result in something tragic. Although teens and young adults are concerned about the issues, a great majority is not taking a proactive action against it. You can avoid distracted driving by following these tips of putting your cell phones out of sight, turning off notifications, and having a designated texter. We need to take an action against this epidemic and help save lives in doing so. Please join me by taking this pledge against texting and driving. Thank you.
Welcome.